Hello and welcome to Wilma's video update. Wilma has been absolutely incredible. She's super smart, super motivated. She's been so fun to work with. So the first thing we always start with is building our heel. We spend a lot of time doing this, especially during the first week and into the second week. First week, it's really one of the only things we like to do. We put so much time into this. So the first thing we start with when it comes to healing is just having the dog look at us. As soon as the dog looks at us, click, and then feed. Then we start moving on to us moving backwards and the dog moving with us. You can see I'm moving. When she's moving with me, click and feed. Click and feed. The most important part about this is that I am marking and then moving. So I'm using my clicker to mark the correct behavior, and then I'm feeding her. Each click requires a piece of food, even if it's on accident. So what we're doing is classically conditioning her to the sound of this clicker. So every time she hears it, she knows it means she's going to get a reward. And in dogs that are very clicker conditioned, some interesting science stuff is they actually found that the dopamine in the dog spikes when they hear the marker before they even get a reward. So it's super important that our timing and our consistency with our markers is super good. This is our number one way to communicate with our dogs. So she's been doing super good with walking back. So now I'm doing that same exact thing, except I'm having her walk past me on that left side to eat that food. And I'm making sure that I'm keeping my feet moving. We want to make sure she's comfortable walking and eating at the same time. The reason we're having the dog walk backwards is because then we're going to start to flip them into heel. Some dogs, like her, we can lure them, so having that food in our hands and having her nose stuck to that hand, and then I'll be able to take a step back, bring her far behind me, and have her follow that food into heel. Some dogs don't do that so easily, so we have to adjust ourselves to the dog. But the point is that eventually we want to be able to start paying the dog in that heel position. When it comes to teaching behaviors, we always think about our 4 learning stages. Stage 1 is acquisition and showing. So I can't expect her to heel if I haven't shown her how. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So things I'm keeping in mind is 1, how close to my body she is. I want her nice and close. 2, how straight she is. I want her to be straight. Eventually, we're going to have that stop and implied sit. So I want to make sure she's used to walking straight so that when I stop, she can come into that nice straight sit and not have to come out of position at all. She's doing great with healing, so I got to introduce the sits to her pretty early on. We like to teach the sits utilizing negative reinforcement. This is when you'll see me pulling up on that hip lead, and as soon as her butt goes down, I'm marking, releasing the tension, and rewarding her. Dogs have a lot of what we call opposition reflex. So if I were to push on your shoulder, your instinct would be to shove back. Dogs have that same thing. So when we're pulling up on that leash, it's actually going to encourage the butt to go down. We want verbal ways to be able to communicate with our dogs, of course, but we also want tactile ways to be able to communicate with our dogs so that we can help them and give them a more clear understanding of these behaviors. So we start to sit this way so that then we can start to say sit and then apply the pressure. And then she'll realize, okay, you say sit, and then I'm going to have to go into the sit. This is helpful because then, a lot of dogs have a habit of being told to sit and then they just get up and go away. Sit and then they just get up and walk away. So this way, when we're teaching the sit, the dog decides to get up, we can apply that leash pressure, turn it right back on, their butt's going to go right back down. So we can help hold them accountable, keep them in that sit. So we always want to make sure that dog is coming in and sitting nice and straight and doing super great with the leash pressure, stopping in the right spot before we start to apply the word sit. And all of our commands have an implied stay, so the word sit means sit until you are released. So this is why you see me rewarding a bunch of duration. So I'm rewarding her repetitively for staying in that sit so that she'll be likely to stay there until I say freeze. When it comes to healing, think about that heel position as your left heel. You want her right on that left side, right by your foot. And Heel, just like the rest of our commands, means heel until release. So this is why we introduce that stop and sit, so that if we're heeling and then we come to a stop, that dog should sit in our heel position. So just like most of our commands, we're building a lot of positive reinforcement, a lot of reward history. We want the dogs to get super good at doing these things, seeing what pays, learning how to move themselves and stop where we want them. And then once they're doing great, then we'll start to apply names to these behaviors. That stage where the dog is doing really good, they start holding themselves better, they're staying in heel position longer without so much assistance, they're able to do these commands with a bit less help. That's going to be stage 2 of our learning stages, and that is going to be automation or fluency. The dog is automatically starting to do it, they're getting nice and fluent. And then when they're doing that, we move into stage 3, which is where we name that behavior. Stage 3 is going to be that application and generalization. Just means we're able to use it because now we're starting to name it. So we want to make sure our dogs understand our behaviors before we tell them what that behavior is called. So here you see me teaching her place. The first thing we start with is just approaching the bed, having her get all the way on there, all 4 feet, having her turn around, marking, moving myself back into that heel position, and then putting that food on the bed. So this right here would be her 3rd session learning place. So that first session I did, I just have her go on and off. Then she starts showing me she's automatically going to go to the bed. She's getting fluent in understanding the behavior. Then I will start to say place and approach the bed, knowing that she's already going to go on there and I will be able to reward her. Some things to think about when we are teaching place. 1, we like to utilize what we call the garage door method, which means they always come on and off the same way through the front of the bed. Gives them less options to think about coming off of that place stay. 2, when we go to reward the dog, we are always going to move ourselves back into heel position. We're just building that reward history of being on that left side. And then 3, our footwork. So when I am having her come off the bed, I'm going to say free and step forward with my left foot. If I am having her stay on the bed, I'm going to remind her place and step off with my right foot. This is super helpful because dogs primarily communicate visually. They are more visual. They use more body language than they do verbal, like we humans do. So the dogs are super used to seeing us stepping forward with that left foot and then going into heeling. So we like to use that left foot for free, for heel, commands that are forward or with us, and then commands that involve stays like place, sit, down. We will remind the dog place or whatever and then step off with that right foot. I kind of speed ran the beginning of this session a little bit because she is already pretty familiar with how this works. So we like to go through our 3Ds, distance, duration, and distraction. So we like to start building that distance and duration pretty early on. So I'll start doing place, click, feed, place, click, feed, place, click, feed, while she's on that bed, and then telling her free. So she's seeing the longer she's on that bed, the longer she's on place, the more rewards she's going to get. For introducing some distance, we're going to do it the same way we did with the sits. So I'm going to remind her place, take 1 teeny tiny step with that right foot right around the corner of the bed, come back, click, feed. And then I'm going to slowly move 1 step at a time around the front of the bed, come back, click, feed. I'm going to gradually increase this distance. Something to think about is when we start to name our behaviors, this is when we start to hold the dog accountable for these behaviors. So if I've told her place and she steps off the bed, I'm going to use her punishment marker, which is no. And this is where we start to introduce that. So I say no, give her a pop towards the bed and remind her place, and then reset. So the second that foot comes off, no, telling her that she did something wrong, making sure my timing is good. So as soon as she makes that mistake, no, applying the consequence, pop on that slip leash towards the place bed, and then reminding her what it was that she should have been doing so she doesn't get that correction again. When we're working on distraction work, of course, with anything, we want to gradually increase the difficulty. So I'm not going to teach her place and then immediately start running around, have other dogs, all these other things. So I'm starting small. I'm slightly bending over. Maybe I'm dropping a marker. Maybe I'm making a little kissy sound. Anything aside from using her name or any other command. We don't like to layer commands on place. Place is kind of just, the dog's spot to chill out. They can do whatever they like. Our only rules are no barking and keep all 4 feet on the bed. You'll also notice that I am feeding her on the bed every single time. It is going to help tremendously with teaching the dog to stay on that bed if they are realizing that their reward is going to be on the bed every single time. A lot of people run into the dog wanting to come off the bed early because the dog is anticipating getting food from the hand. The dog already has so much history getting rewards from us, being with us, being drawn to that hand or our treat pouch. So we always want to make sure we're marking and then putting the food on that bed.
Girl, hi, sweet, sweet girl. You're doing very good, I know. You're doing very good. Please. Puppy.
Here is a session of us working on recalls. She had done a few recall sessions at this point. This was maybe her 3rd or so. All I'm doing is waiting for her to look away from me, and then I'm saying her name, backing up. As soon as she's coming back to me, click and feed her on that left side, and then I'm telling her free. All I'm teaching her right now is that your name means come get this food from me. And then as soon as I say her name, I'm moving backwards. Ideally, I want to be bubbly, making a lot more sound, but I was coming down with a little bit of a sickness at this point, so I was only able to vocalize so much. But as soon as she's coming back, we're looking for that head snap. So I say her name, I move fast, she's going to hear my feet, see me moving in the corner of her eye. She's going to whip her head, say, "What are you doing?" And then click, she's going to come get that food, and then I'm going to tell her free. So eventually that recall is going to have a flip into heel because we don't like dogs doing drive-bys where they come towards us and then they continue running past, or they come towards and then they go off to the side. So we give the dog an end spot. So every time I recall, you're going to come back into heel and you are going to sit there until released. So early on, we like to condition that free. So come back, get your food, free. Just so that way the dog is getting used to recalling, then hearing free, and then leaving. Her kennel manners have been going pretty good. So as far as her kennel manners, we tell her kennel before we open the door. We put the slip leash on, and then she has to wait until we tell her free. If her paw comes out of the kennel, tell her no, and then you have 2 options. You can either close the door on her, or you can give a pop with that slip lead towards the inside of the kennel and then remind her kennel. So like with the door, I would do no, quickly close the door, kennel and then open it back up and let her make that decision again. And then we'll also reward her for staying in the kennel, waiting. Then we have her eat some food in heel position up to every doorway. Have her go into a sit. She waits there, we reward her, and then she has to wait until we tell her free to go through that door. This is a more recent healing session. This is the one where I start to use a verbal command with her. So she does really good at holding herself in that heel position. She generally understands where she should be, how to get there. She's showing us that she's pretty fluent in the behavior. However, she is a very excited dog, and a lot of times after we feed her, she wants to come forward. So I want to start putting it on command so that I can reward her, and then if she goes too far, I can tell her that's wrong. So what you saw me do there right in the beginning of the session is when she came in front of me, I used spatial pressure as a little bit of a punishment. So spatial pressure is pressure from our body, and it's basically our proximity to the dog. So dogs don't really like it if we're like too up in their space, leaning over them, getting in their way. That can be a form of conflict. It's something we call spatial pressure. So I'm utilizing some of that. So when she comes too far forward, I'm making a sharp left turn right into her. I'm picking up my pace, speeding up, so that she's seeing, oh, I came forward and then you just bumped into me. You just got up in my space and hit me with your leg. And I'm like, yeah, I did. So then she'll start staying back more because she's expecting that if she comes forward, I'm going to make that left turn into her. And she doesn't like that. So I'm using that to help get her to stay and maintain this heel position a little better. So when it comes to teaching the healing, a mistake that a lot of people make is they think they say heel and then expect the dog to start healing. What we're actually doing is having the dog heal and then telling the dog to heal. So I'm only saying heal, marking and rewarding when she is already where I want her. So if she's too far in front of me, I'm not going to tell her heal. I want her to realize heel, click, feed. It's right in that same spot every single time. You'll also see there are some times she's a little too far off to the side or a little far forward, but I still put that food reward in the same spot every time. And she has to adjust to take that food. This is her very first session ever learning e-collar. She's been doing super well with her recalls, so I figured it was time. So when we start recalls, we have this e-collar on a super low level. I believe I have it on a 3 here. So all I'm doing is when she looks away from me, I'm starting that stim for just a second. Wilma, she turns around, stim shuts off, click, and feed her, walking past that left side just like before. The picture is exactly the same, except now I'm adding in some stim before I call her back. This is how we start our e-collar conditioning process. So I want her to realize that that stim means I'm going to recall you and you're going to come back and get food. That's all this means. So for right now, it's just a super positive feeling, and she doesn't quite understand what the feeling means yet. We will know that she's getting fluent in this when I start the stim and she's turning around before I even recall her. Now, she is a very smart dog, and you'll see during this session that I'm literally able to recall her like 6 times in a row. She is really smart. She's really good at pattern recognition, so she's realized throughout all the sessions we've done where she looks away, I recall her, she comes back, I release her. She looks away, I recall her, she comes back, I reward and release her. So she will literally go just a couple feet in front of me, and then she's intentionally looking forward and pretending to be distracted so that I will call her back, and she has that opportunity to come back and get a reward. And that is great. I do not mind that at all. Because early on with our recalls, we want to set them up for as much success as possible. We want these recalls to be repeated and be so fun and be so successful that it becomes reflexive. We want it to become, very reflexive. Or when we say that dog's name, they're going to snap their head and they're going to turn right back without even thinking about it. And this is also great for that e-collar conditioning process because she's pretending to be distracted, but she's listening. She's walking away. She is intentionally waiting for me to call her back. So that'll be super helpful with conditioning the e-collar. She's walking forward. She feels that stim. Oh, what's that feeling? I call her back, shuts off, she gets a reward. So this will help her pick up on returning on that e-collar very quickly.